If you're thinking about going out and buying Bitcoin with debt, make sure to watch this video to the end. In 2022, I did just that. I was stacking sats, the way was clear, the math made sense, and I wanted in badly. I wanted to leap in and get a full coin. So I used 3 different types of debt to do it. And to be honest, it worked. Until one move nearly blew up everything. None of this is financial advice. This is just my story. If you're thinking about going down this route, I hope this video gives you something to chew on. So let's break down exactly what I did. So my first move, I had a home with some equity and interest rates were relatively low at the time. So I pulled a $65,000 HELOC on my house. I didn't use it all at once. I used about half of it to buy the rest of what I needed to hit a full Bitcoin. And I remember that felt like a huge win. And like any responsible Bitcoiner should, I was putting all my Bitcoin onto a cold storage wallet. For my second move, my wife and I got 2 0% intro APR credit cards, each with about $12,000 in available credit. We covered all of our budgets and normal expenses with those credit cards. And after maxing them out, we just paid the minimum payment. We didn't overspend or buy anything big here. And what this did is it freed up our income from our 9-to-5 job, and we were able to take that cash, and what we did was we bought Bitcoin miners, 3 of them, and efficient ones for the time. And then our third move, I called the power company and signed up for their bill averaging program. Some call it budget billing. Basically, they average your previous 12 months of electric bills, and you pay the same flat amount for the next year. So that bought me some time. I had the miners plugged in and running full blast, and I didn't have to pay the bill for a full year. And for a bonus move, I paid the power bill using a 2% cashback credit card and used that cash back to help offset the interest from the HELOC. So in this window, using electricity, I was essentially buying a limited daily amount of Bitcoin at an average cost of $10,000 to $12,000. Now, of course, this was limited by how much power the miners could actually pull in a day, which was roughly about $14 a day. But over time, that did stack up and that added up. And by the beginning of 2023, I grew my stack from 1 to 1.9 Bitcoin. Now here's where the real lessons started. Understanding volatility and living through it are not the same thing. And from 2022 to the beginning of January 2023, Bitcoin pretty much did nothing but go down. I think every day I checked my phone, Bitcoin was down a little bit more, a little bit more. It was hard. So even as I was stacking sats, I still felt like I was losing. And the emotional stress of watching Bitcoin dip and holding all of that debt, it really messed with me. And from day to day, I would check the price, and every day I was depressed. And that was not fun. And then reality started hitting me really hard. Those electric bills that I had set on delay, those were now coming in full swing. And then the fridge broke, and the car broke, and life happened. We weren't crashing, but things were getting really tight. And then I asked myself, what did we get ourselves into? But then with all this emotion, all these things happening, this is where I actually really messed up. I wanted to offset the interest I was paying, so I started looking for yield. And I found an exchange that offered a modest return on Bitcoin. There were no crazy DeFi numbers. They didn't have their own coin. It was a year after FTX. I felt a little safer. They had a clean site and decent reviews. And I asked them directly, and they claimed that they had no exposure to FTX. I researched them, I checked all the boxes, I felt comfortable. So I moved most of my Bitcoin onto this platform, and I effectively canceled out the interest from my HELOC. So at this point, I was paying 0% interest on roughly $65,000 of debt. And at this point, even though I was paying more for electric bills and all these things, I was paying down the debts. I felt comfortable. Bitcoin started to move. And then out of nowhere, I got an email from them saying they are halting withdrawals. And at that point, all of it was gone. My whole plan vaporized. So now I had debt and no Bitcoin. We had to pivot fast. We had to sell the miners. So no more income from the miners. The bills were flowing in and we panicked. And I don't know if you remember those 0% interest APR credit cards that we got for the miners. Well, now we don't have that income that we had mined for the past year and a bit. And all of a sudden, those bills were due with 30% interest coming our way. It was bad. It was really bad. So we were out of assets, out of moves, and time was running out. So we started to sell everything we could, anything of value we had, because we were going to lose our home. And just before things got truly desperate, a good friend of ours helped us secure a personal loan that helped us consolidate that debt. And that saved us. And had that not happened, we would have lost our home. We are a family of 7, and that was truly terrifying. So I bet you're wondering, how much would we have made had we not lost the Bitcoin? So this is where the numbers get really fun, but also really depressing at the same time. So had I not lost my Bitcoin, what were the numbers? How much did I make minus what I spent on interest and other things? I put about $65,000 into the whole strategy. Half went to buying Bitcoin directly. That Bitcoin is now worth around $65,000. The HELOC interest, year 1 was 9.5 to 10%. Year 2 was 8.5%. And the total interest paid on that was about $1,950. On the mining side, the rigs cost me $32,000. Electricity over 2 years was about $10,000. I mined 0.9 Bitcoin, worth about $94,000 today. And when I sold the rigs, I got about $6,000 back. So if I still had everything and never lost it to that yield platform, the total Bitcoin I bought with debt would be valued at about $170,000. My total costs, including power and interest, totaled about $74,000. And that's a net profit of about $96,000. And now the real question, would I do it all again? And the answer is yes, but with some stricter rules. So with the HELOC, I would do that strategy exactly the same, plus 2 things. Keep that money on a cold storage wallet, never move it out, no exceptions. So with the 0% credit cards, I would absolutely do this again, either buying Bitcoin directly or buying miners. I would love to go back into mining again. I would absolutely max them out, only paying minimums for 21 months. This was my favorite way to move my 9-to-5 income into Bitcoin. There's not a lot of places that allow you to buy Bitcoin directly with a credit card without a high fee. So this was a great way to transfer my 9-to-5 income into Bitcoin while also stacking that debt and holding that at 0% for 21 months. And for the power bill averaging, I would absolutely do that again. It was a 0% interest line of credit essentially, and that gave me time to stack Bitcoin buying directly using electricity. And had we not lost that Bitcoin, we could have paid those bills no problem. So with the yield platforms, would I do that again? No, never, never again. It's funny how the most simple mistake was the most risky thing I did. I went into $65,000 worth of debt. It was pretty scary, but it wasn't the riskiest thing I did. Everyone says it, not your keys, not your coins. That almost killed me not following that. So if you're thinking about buying Bitcoin with debt, ask yourself, can you handle 80% drawdowns? Are you covering the downside? Can you still continually make those interest payments while things get tough? People are saying right now that there's never going to be a bear market with Bitcoin right now. I don't know if that's true. I can't tell the future. No one can. Be prepared for anything. Make sure you have a backup plan if everything goes wrong. Guarantee something will go wrong. It's going to be uncomfortable. Be prepared for that. It almost killed me. I do not want that to happen to anyone else. If this video gave you something to think about, hit that like button. Also in the comments, would you ever go into debt to buy Bitcoin? If yes, why? If not, why not? Thanks for watching, guys. Stack smart, stay sovereign. I'll see you in the next video.